the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. In the 17th layer of the analysis of this scene, we see that after the Antichrist's forward movement and exiting the scene, the camera pauses for a few moments and then slowly moves towards the left side of the picture where some oddly shaped cliffs appear. Considering the fact that every second, an item in this animation has embedded cryptic messages within, certainly this seemingly unneeded pause and the camera's movement towards left are not without reason. By paying more attention to these cliffs, we see that they are indicating the Australia and Oceania continents. In a way that the cliffs closer to the camera resemble the Sydney Opera House, while the farther cliffs are similar to the prism-shaped dolerite cliffs in the region called Totem Pole in islands of Tasmania. Considering the important link between the recent scenes, these two regions have also been connected to a form of fire. Because in the last scene, the Cornhill Devils, the St. Peter upon Cornhill Church, and the Great London Fire in 1666 were indicated, as well as the fire and demolition of Notre Dame in Paris. Naturally, these two new items, the Sydney Opera House and the Totem Pole Cliffs in Tasmania, should also be connected to a fire. The very important point is that in 2019 and after the Notre Dame Cathedral fire, we face the large fires in Australia and Tasmania, which is a confirmation of this theory. It is noteworthy, though, that the fires in plains and forests of Australia and Tasmania have been a common occurrence in warm seasons in previous decades. However, the Great Wildfire of 2019, which continued well into 2020, was a massive and unprecedented fire, the likes of which was not recorded in history. In 2019, a great unprecedented wildfire ravaged various regions of Australia and Tasmania, the effects of which even reached the Earth's stratosphere layer and made a full turn around the Earth. Millions of square meters of pastures, bushes, and jungles of Australia, Tasmania, and New Zealand were engaged in this fire, and millions of plants and animals were perished, which created some very painful and disturbing scenes. The greatest damage to wildlife was made in the New South Wales state, the capital of which is Sydney. At the same time, some people were arrested for having a hand in creating intentional fires in Australia, which is significant on its own. Considering these notions, we realize that this fire was intentional, much like the Notre Dame and other churches' fires around the Easter celebration 2019, as well as the Great London Fire in 1666. The Australian 2019 bushfires were intentionally made by the Masonic Holy Fire, which has been preserved through the years by members of the Illuminati and Freemasonry. But what is the relation between this historically unprecedented wildfire and the Australia and Oceania continents, as well as Sydney and New South Wales? As we had mentioned, New South Wales, the capital of which is Sydney, is a state that was most impacted by the Australian wildfire in 2019 compared to other regions of the continent. However, from a geographical perspective, New South Wales is located at the intersection between two strategic locations. Its location, 147 degrees east and 33 degrees south, is a special one that is completely in line with Masonic symbology, because this region is 33 degrees away from the line that separates the night and day and 33 degrees farther from the equator, which is the reason for it being in the center of large amounts of fire within the Australian bushfires in 2019. Thus, after a long time of Freemasonry and Illuminati conspiracies in the regions situated on the northern 33 degrees latitude, another large crime and scheme has taken place. The aforementioned regions include Babylon or Baghdad, Charleston, Dallas, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and many more. For this reason this time, they chose the intersecting locations linked to 33 degrees from equator to 33 degrees from the line dividing night and day, for the execution of another one of their evil operations and creating the largest fire of recorded history in it. Hence, the sequence and order of neighboring symbols of Sydney Opera House and the needle prism-like cliffs to Totem Pole region in Tasmania in this scene of the animation are emphasizing the news of a large fire in Australia and Oceania, the center of which would be the New South Wales state. No doubt, it seems essential to mention that the issue of symbolic lightning of the Masonic holy fire by Freemasonry and their mercenaries in various parts of the world is not limited to the mentioned cases, and in recent years, frequent and suspicious fires in different places of the world have been reported. In 2020, for example, the huge and terrible fires broke out in various parts of the United States, especially in the states of California and Oregon, which caused the evacuation of residents and resulted in death and disappearance of many people in the region, and damaged the wildlife in these areas. Surprisingly, in the mysterious music video, All the Good Girls Go to Hell by Billie Eilish, a young and famous American singer, which was published in 2019, contained all kinds of evil and blasphemous symbols and phrases, which also referred to California Hills fire. Although Billie Eilish claims that the music video only refers to the issue of the environment pollution and climate change, the blasphemous expressions and repeated insults to God Almighty, Saint Peter and Simon Cephas, the precious apostle of Jesus Christ and the guardian of heaven in Christian beliefs, and the worship of Satan are among debates that cannot be overlooked with such simple justifications. Therefore, evil and blasphemous allusions, along with the hidden Masonic and satanic elements and symbols, such as the white color of the devil's wings at the beginning of the music video, turning into the bat wings at the end, indicate various codings in this music video, which is beyond the scope of discussion. However, the reference to the California Hills fire in the music video in 2019 and its occurrence in 2020, in continuation of other large suspicious fires around the world, acclaims coordinated plans and orders issued by the single command room to create and organize these fires, which originated from the deviant beliefs of Satanists and Freemasons in order to celebrate the sacred fire of Freemasonry while sending signals related to this belief in the form of movies, animations, music videos, etc., to direct the targeted minds of the Masonic audience. In the eighth layer of the analysis of this scene, we see a wisp of clouds that is similar to a standing purple-colored rabbit. This symbol of the rabbit within the purple clouds is presenting various important messages to its audience in a way that the rabbit is connected to Australia and Oceania from other aspects. One of the most famous links between the rabbit and Australia is a famous biological and ecological crisis. After some British immigrants brought several rabbits with themselves to the newly discovered continent of Oceania, suddenly the new immigrant rabbit species that were considered predators and were unmatched in Australia started to breed heavily. This went on to an extent that the large population of rabbits in Australia turned into a huge environmental threat for the continent. This issue is still at large as a great environmental and agricultural challenge for Australia. Various methods, such as legalizing rabbit hunting, establishing 2 large barrier fences, and infecting the rabbit population with some viruses to increase their deaths, have been adopted to control the rabbit population. However, these actions have not yielded complete and absolute results. Considering what has been discussed so far, it is clear that there's a strong connection between the rabbit and Australia. The expression rabbits in Australia is very well known in ecological, biological, agricultural, and other fields. Thus, after the symbols related to Sydney and Tasmania, the rabbit is the third symbol connected to the continent of Australia, which emphasizes the important events of the region in 2019. In the 9th layer of the analysis of this scene, the purple-themed rabbit is of great importance again. After careful examination, we find out that a dance, music, and life in the Jungle Festival has taken place every year in Australia within the current decade, which is called Rabbits Eat Lettuce. In this festival, young boys and girls spend a few days in the jungle dancing to music, drinking, and conducting other peculiar ceremonies. While examining the photos and videos left of this festival on its website and official Instagram page, various types of pagan and evil banners, pictures, and elements can be observed. For instance, in one of the paintings, we see the image of a lion and a young woman with the sign of Lilith on her arms. There is a star between them, and the star is held in the hands of Lilith. This image is in the sense of the transfer of the Regulus star from the area of Leo or the Lion constellation to the area of Virgo or the Virgin constellation, which is an important symbol in Freemasonry and Illuminati beliefs and is an indicator of the beginning of Lilith, the female devil's dominion over the world after 2,000 years of divine religion's predominance. In general, it would seem that this dance, music, and living in nature ritual is a form of returning to the pagan and infidel tribal life, which has been corrupted by various sins and perversions. However, considering the fact that other parts of this scene are indicating the year 2019, we should specifically look at an event in 2019 that is connected to the Rabbits Eat Lettuce Festival. After deliberation over this matter, we realized that in April 2019, for the first time in the history of this festival, 2 young people passed away due to overdosage of narcotics according to the official announcement of the people in charge of the festival. According to the official statement of the local authorities, a young boy named Dusern Tarbot and a young girl called Ebony Greening passed away due to excessive use of drugs. However, there are significant ambiguities regarding this event, which brings the question to mind whether it was intentional. It is very strange that exactly in April 2019, and in the same week that Notre Dame Cathedral was caught on fire, a young man and woman died for the first time in this festival. Considering what has been mentioned, it would seem that the deceased young people were in truth Masonic and Illuminati sacrifices, which were made for the advancement of the events in 2019 and 2020, in line with the execution of Freemasonry goals. In particular, the selection of a young man and a young woman is symbolically connected to pagan and evil sacrifices. On the other hand, by reviewing the social network pages of one of the victims of this event, called Ebony Greening, we see that she had some suspicious beliefs, and there were hints of her fondness towards Masonic mysteries and secrets. To the extent that in her Twitter page, she had selected her location as Down the Rabbit Hole, which indicates the Alice in Wonderland story, and the curiosity of this young girl in knowing the Masonic mysteries and secrets. Therefore, it seems that the Freemasons and Illuminati have attentively chosen their favorite sacrifices in this pagan infidel festival and have taken those to slaughter that were excessively curious about the hidden Masonic secrets and mysteries. In the 10th layer of the analysis of this scene of the animation, we should point towards the rabbit-shaped clouds again, and the fact that the presence of the rabbit figure in this scene next to the cave's opening through which the Antichrist exits is referring to the story of Alice in Wonderland. In this story, a guiding rabbit facilitated Alice's entrance to the Wonderland.
Hello?
It is noteworthy that, within the symbology of the Alice in Wonderland's mysterious story, rabbit is the symbol of teacher of hidden secrets, or Masonic mentor, who guides Alice from this world to the Masonic underworld. However, in the current scene is demonstrating that the Masonic teachings shall exit the underworld, with the aid of the rabbit, who is the mentor for secret sciences, and shall not need to hide anymore by showing the Antichrist exiting the cave on a path with no return. In other words, this scene is in contrast with the initial sense of this animation within the Masonic classroom, in which, after the reduction of the Illuminati light and Lilith's exile from the heaven, she entered the hidden Masonic underworld with the aid of the rabbit, so that she could preserve the evil teachings in the hidden world. The current scene, quite the opposite of the aforementioned scene, is indicating the fact that, at the time of the apocalypse, the Antichrist shall be aided by the rabbit to return to the surface of the earth from the underworld as the heir to Masonic teachings and secrets and make his activities public. In the 11th layer of the analysis, the time of events' occurrence in 2019 becomes very important again. The current scene of the iPetGo 2 animations is a different and special one, because according to these images, from now on the Antichrist has woken up and exited the netherworld's cave. Also, the demolition of the cathedral in the cave's opening shows that from this stage forth, the Freemasonry and Illuminati have reached a one-way, not returnable level. Thus, observing the sequence of events occurring in this scene finds significant value. Now, if we take a look at the 2019 news, we come across some amazing facts. Investigating the information for 2019, we find out that on April 13, 2019, the star Regulus becomes very important. On some websites, Regulus has been introduced as the chosen star for April 2019. Many other astronomical websites have reported on the Regulus star and the moon passing from its proximity around April 14th and 15th in 2019. As we had mentioned before, the Regulus star plays a very important role in the apocalyptic beliefs of Freemasons and Illuminati. It is considered as the herald of the beginning of the new Masonic age, and Donald Trump's fortune has been tied to this star as well. After such specific indication of the Regulus star in April 2019, and the moon passing through its proximity around April 14th and 15th, suddenly the shocking news of fire in Notre Dame Cathedral was transmitted to the whole world on April 15th. Within the same week, other news on fire and explosions in other churches around the world were heard. On April 22nd, Donald Trump celebrated the Easter next to a very large rabbit while wearing a purple tie, which is a symbolic color of the Regulus star. On the same day, in April 22nd, 2019, news of the death of a young woman and man in the pagan infidel music festival Rabbits Eat Lettuce made the rounds, and the week of Christian Easter celebrations, which is related to the resurrection of the Christ, blessings upon him, ended a sore note with lamentable events. Considering that Easter is a time known for the festivities of the resurrection of Christ in Christian beliefs, it would seem that the evil movements of the global Freemasonry and Illuminati in April 2019 have in truth been actions taken for the resurrection of the Antichrist. The Notre Dame fire, demolition of churches in Sri Lanka, and the suspicious deaths of 2 young people in the pagan infidel Rabbits Eat Lettuce festival are all indeed evil actions for awakening the Antichrist from his 1,000 years of slumber. The simultaneous nature of these events with the Christian Easter is in fact considered a sneer and insult towards Christ. It is noteworthy that in this scene of the animation, we see that the Antichrist's awakening takes place at the time of the church's burning. This notion is symbolically showing that the suspicious Notre Dame Cathedral's fire in Paris has been the beginning of the Antichrist's resurrection, and we shall witness the Freemasonry and Illuminati's last efforts from 2019 onward to get the result of thousands of years' efforts by the devil and his followers. In the next scene, which is the final scene of the iPad Go 2 animation, we see the Antichrist riding the Anubis boat in a state of full awareness and wakefulness, moving towards the rising sun. At this moment, we see the image of the rising sun located between 2 groups of clouds. The clouds on the right resemble a human hand, and the clouds on the left are scorpion-shaped. In the last part of this scene, we see the rising sun throw fire flames at the trio of the pyramids, which destroys them. This scene ends as pyramids are being destroyed by the fireballs thrown from the sun, and immediately afterwards the logo of the animation company, Heliofant, is displayed. In a strange move, the dot on the small letter I deviates towards the capital letter O, and then the animation fully ends. There are various important elements within the final scene of the animation that should be examined in different layers. In the first layer of this scene of the animation, we should point towards the fact that the rising sun is symbolically in the sense of the power and greatness of Ra, the sun god of the ancient Egypt. This analysis is confirmed with the blooming of the lotus flowers concurrent with the rising of the sun in the previous scenes. Because according to the ancient Egypt's legends, the sun god Ra was born out of the lotus. There is no doubt that these legends are empty hallucinations and deviated beliefs, and that the materialistic minds of the Freemasons and Illuminati do not truly worship a god named Ra. However, Ra is a symbol of the rebellion and revolt of the infidel, idolater ancient nations in front of the magnificent god, and for this reason, it is symbolically respected by the Freemasons and Illuminati. Furthermore, considering the Illuminati's concept of the Lucifer, or devil's light, Ra is considered another symbol for the shining of the Lucifer's light. Hence, it would seem that the Antichrist's movement towards the rising sun in this scene is in the sense of his movement towards the new Masonic age or the new world order centered on infidel symbols such as Ra, the sun god of ancient Egypt. In the second layer of the analysis, we should point out that the sun refers to the city of Jerusalem, or Beit el-Maqdis, in a way that, in the age of the Roman dominance in Jerusalem or Beit el-Maqdis, The other name of this city was Aelia Capitolina, which means the origin of the sun. In truth, the Roman expression Aelia Capitolina is consisted of two important parts. The first part, Aelia, is derived from the Greek word Helios, which means the sun. The second part, Capitolina, is originated from the words capito and caput, that mean head, origin, and beginning. The name was later changed to Aelia in the age of Jerusalem conquest by Muslims. However, the spelling of the word Aelia, which means Jerusalem, is different from the Latin word Aelia, which is a name. However, they are similar in terms of pronunciation in Arabic. In any case, considering what was discussed and the fact that the other name of Jerusalem is Aelia Capitolina, which means the origin of the sun, the Antichrist's movement towards the rising sun is in the sense of his movement towards Jerusalem or Beit al-Maqdis for his coronation and the beginning of his evil global rule. The Illuminati and Freemasonry have been dreaming of this notion for thousands of years. However, God willing, and with mercy of the great God, such event shall not come to pass, and we shall elaborate on the details of this issue later in our discussions. In the third layer of the analysis, we point towards this notion that throwing of fireballs from the sun to the Egyptian pyramids does not have an anti-Masonic meaning. In fact, it means the end of the old Masonic age or the age of the old pharaohs, and the beginning of the new world order led by the new pharaoh, the Antichrist. In the fourth tier analysis of this scene, we should indicate the shapes of the clouds around the rising sun. On the left side of the image, the shape of the clouds resemble a scorpion with a bended sting, which is completely recognizable. On the right side of the image, the clouds resemble a human hand and its fingers. But the most important notion linked with the clouds is the constellations. The Scorpion is a well-known constellation in the northern hemisphere. However, there is no hand constellation in a separate form, but a part of the Orion or Hunter constellation is known as the Lakota's hand in the North America region. Hence, the hand constellation is indirectly referring to the Orion constellation. Certainly, it is understandable why the director has alluded to the hand constellation in place of the Hunter constellation. The reason is that depicting the complex Orion or the Hunter constellation in a cloud shape is a difficult task. For this reason and the simplicity of its drawing, the hand constellation had been depicted in place of the Hunter. But the very important point is why these two constellations have been indicated in this scene. It would seem that this part of the final scene is indicating the approximate planned timing of the Antichrist coronation. If we pay close attention to the sun's movement in relation with constellations, we realize that the sun is close to Orion or the Hunter constellation in the summer, and is closer to the Scorpius constellation in the winter. Thus, the Orion constellation and its equivalent, the Hand of Lakota constellation, is present in the day sky and disappears at night in the summer. In reverse, the Scorpius constellation is present in the day sky and disappears at night in the winter. In this scene of the animation and using the clouds imagery, it is shown that the sun is rising between the two constellations in a way that the Hand constellation, which is in fact the Orion constellation, is rising in the day sky, and in parallel the Scorpius constellation is sitting and disappearing from the sky. Astrological calculations show that the time indicated in this scene is a time between the winter and the summer. because the sun is in a position that the Scorpius constellation is disappearing from the sky, while the Hand or Orion constellation is appearing. Considering what we have discussed, it seems that the Freemasonry and Illuminati have made their evil plans for the celebration of the Antichrist's coronation in Jerusalem for spring and beginning of the summer. This analysis conforms to the melting of snow and blooming of lotus flowers in recent scenes of the animation, and they all point to the Antichrist's plan for the beginning of his evil kingdom in spring or beginning of the summer. Whether spring or summer is favored by the Freemasonry and Illuminati is not entirely clear. However, taking into account the indication towards the resurrection of the Antichrist in April 2019 and the long events that ensued, it seems the world shall undergo new developments that are connected with the final efforts of the Freemasonry and Illuminati for the beginning of the New World Order in Jerusalem and finalizing the deal of the century's content. Although the many efforts of Freemasonry and Illuminati for realizing this evil plan are all out and round the clock, soon and forever, Freemasonry and Illuminati shall be passed away, and with the rise of the divine Savior, the world will bask in joy and prosperity, concerning which we shall speak further in our discussion. After seeing the final scene, the animation developer's logo suddenly appears. Oddly, the dot above the small letter I deviates towards the capital letter O. This peculiar event is not accidental. In the last part of the film, meaning in the 7th minute of the animation, the developers are alluding to the Regulus star or Alpha Leonis symbol. This star is the favorite Freemasonry and Illuminati's symbol and key to entering the new Masonic age. In other words, the deviated dot of the letter I next to the capital letter O is symbolically referring to the ecliptic sun and the eclipse star, the Regulus or Alpha Leonis, which was comprehensively discussed in previous sections of the animation. The presence of this symbol within the last minute of this animation is an indication of its high importance for the Freemasonry and Illuminati. It is necessary to clarify that the discussions presented in these analytical films and the relevant articles do not amount to a definitive prediction. Rather, they are merely a plan and program portrayed as a diabolical animation under the name of iPetGo 2, designed by Global Freemasonry, Illuminati, and their mercenaries, and presented secretly to their infanteries. Therefore, the possibility of making changes to this plan and program by Freemasonry and Illuminati cannot be ruled out. As a result, the analysis of these films focused on revealing the driving forces behind these satanic contents as well as the purposes they served without endorsing or confirming them. Hopefully, in accordance with the divine teachings, the world will turn into a peaceful, benevolent, and magnificent place dominated by the divine religions. In the next sections, this topic will be described in more detail.